The Galactic Concord had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 742 different species lived under its laws. They had forgotten what war felt like. They solved all problems with meetings and committees and endless talking. So when the strange creatures from a small blue planet called Earth made first contact, the Concord treated them like children who did not know any better. Admiral Lisa Grant stood at the window of the diplomatic ship called the Steadfast. She watched the massive ring station grow larger as they approached. The station was called Convocation Prime, and it was where all important meetings happened. Lisa was 53 years old. Her gray hair was cut short, and her eyes had seen too much pain in her life. She had fought in wars back on Earth. She knew what conflict really meant. Behind her, Ambassador Daniel Perry was nervous. He kept fixing his collar again and again. He was younger than Lisa, full of hope and belief that everyone in the galaxy wanted peace. "The Concord has promised that this summit will fix everything," Daniel said. "The Vethkari have agreed to leave our systems alone." Lisa did not turn from the window. The Vethkari agreed to nothing. The Concord told them to pretend. "That is different. You are too negative, Admiral. I've been doing this job for 30 years. I have earned the right to be negative." The summit began with grand ceremony. The Council of Premiers was made up of the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy. They sat on platforms that were higher than where the humans had to sit. This was on purpose. They wanted to look down on the humans. High Premier Yothax of the Vethkari looked like a giant insect mixed with a building. It made clicking sounds when it was amused. The translation machine turned those clicks into words. "We welcome humanity to the civilized conversation of the stars," Yothax said. "We understand your species is young. You are violent and act without thinking. But the Concord is patient. We will teach you how to behave." Lisa could feel Daniel getting angry beside her. But he kept his face calm. "We thank you for the welcome," Daniel said. "We are here to solve the problem of your ships entering systems that belong to us under Concord law." "Belong to you," Yothax repeated. The clicking sound meant the creature was laughing at them. "Young species do not understand how complicated our laws are. The Kepler systems have resources that the Vethkari need. Your claims might be legal, but we must think about what is good for the whole Concord." "What is good for the Concord?" Lisa said suddenly. "You mean what is good for you?" The whole room went silent. "Admiral Grant," Daniel whispered, "please stop." But Lisa was done being quiet. "You asked us to come here to talk. But there is nothing to talk about. You already decided what will happen. The Kepler systems will stay in Vethkar hands. We will get worthless empty systems far away from everything. And we are supposed to smile and say thank you." Yothax's many eyes seemed to shine. "You are smart for a human. I have been lied to by creatures better at lying than you." The summit went on for 3 more days. It was exactly what Lisa had said it would be. Every idea the humans suggested was rejected. Every compromise was called not good enough. And through it all, aliens smiled and talked about patience and thinking about the future. On the last day, Daniel stood before the council. He held a tablet with humanity's final offer. His hands were shaking. "We suggest that both sides share control of the disputed systems," he said. "We share the resources. We share the power. A true partnership." Yothax did not even pretend to think about it. "No," the High Premier said. "Humanity will leave the Kepler systems within 1 year. You will get mining rights in a useless nebula far away." "This is finished." Daniel started to argue. Lisa put her hand on his shoulder to stop him. "No," she said. "It is not finished." She walked forward. Something about the way she moved made even Yothax stop and watch. "For 3 days we have sat here and been treated like stupid children," Lisa said. "We have been told that we are young and violent and foolish. We have been told that we do not understand how things work out here." She smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "You're right. We do not understand how your galaxy works. We do not understand how a civilization 12,000 years old can be so blind. You have forgotten what fighting really means. You have forgotten what it costs. You sit on your high platforms and make decisions. And you think that words are enough to control reality." She turned to Daniel. "Ambassador Perry, Please send a message to Earth. Tell them the peace talks have failed. Daniel paused for just a moment. Then he nodded. Done. Lisa turned back to the council. Humanity's leaving these talks, she said. We are leaving the Galactic Concord, and we will protect what belongs to us. The room exploded into noise and chaos. Yathox rose from the high platform. The creature seemed confused for the first time. You cannot do this. No species has left the Concord in 4,000 years. Then we will be the first. You'll be destroyed. You are one small species against the combined might of 742 civilizations. Lisa looked at the alien for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was calm and cold. The Concord has not fought a real war in 4,000 years. Your weapons are old. Your soldiers are ceremonial. Your entire civilization has forgotten what blood and sacrifice mean. She stepped closer to the platform. Humanity has spent its entire existence fighting. We fought each other for thousands of years. We fought diseases and famines and disasters. We clawed our way from caves to the stars with nothing but stubbornness and rage. She pointed at Yathox. You think we are young and foolish? You think we will break easily? But you have never faced a species like us. You have never faced creatures who refuse to give up no matter what. You have forgotten what desperation looks like. She turned and walked toward the exit. Daniel followed her, his face pale but determined. This is a mistake, Yathox called after her. The Concord will not allow this insult to stand. Lisa stopped at the door. She looked back over her shoulder. Then come and teach us a lesson, she said. We will be waiting. She walked out of the chamber, and the doors closed behind her with a sound like a tomb sealing shut. The galaxy had just changed forever. And most of the species in that room did not even understand what had happened. They thought humanity was bluffing. They thought the small, young species would come back begging for forgiveness within months. They were wrong. On the ship back to Earth, Daniel sat across from Lisa in her quarters. His hands were still shaking. What happens now? He asked. Lisa looked out at the stars streaming past the window. Now we prepare, she said, because they will come for us. And when they do, we need to be ready. Can we win? Lisa was quiet for a long time. I do not know, she finally admitted. But I know that we will fight. And I know that fighting is better than kneeling. Daniel nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had pushed humanity too far. And now they were going to learn why that was the worst decision they had ever made. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than light itself. For the first time in 4,000 years, a species had walked away from the Galactic Concord. Every planet, every station, every ship heard about what the humans had done. Some species were confused. Some were angry. And some, the ones who remembered what it felt like to be conquered, were quietly hopeful. On Earth, the reaction was split in two. Half the people saw Lisa Grant as a hero. She had finally stood up to the aliens who treated humanity like pets. The other half saw her as a fool who had doomed their entire species to destruction. President Maria Santos spoke to the United Nations 1 week after the withdrawal. She was a small woman, with dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier before she was a politician, and she understood what war meant. We did not want this fight, she said. We only wanted what was fairly ours, but we will not be talked down to. We will not be dismissed. And we will not give up our future to a government that sees us as animals to be controlled. She paused and looked at the cameras. If they want war, they will have war. And they will learn that humanity does not break easily. Far away on Convocation Prime, High Premier Yathox called an emergency meeting of the Council. The humans are pretending to be brave, Yathox declared. They are young and proud and stupid. They will understand their mistake within the year. They will come crawling back to us and beg for forgiveness. Premier Elithics of the Sereni floated in a tank of liquid. The Sereni looked like glowing jellyfish, and they were known for being careful and thoughtful. Elithax pulsed with worry. What if they do not come back? The Sereni asked. Then we will teach them what happens when you defy the Concord. But the Concord had not fought a real war in 4,000 years. Their ships were beautiful, but weak. Their weapons had not been used for anything except ceremonies. And humanity, young and violent and stubborn, spent every moment of its existence fighting something. The first year passed in heavy silence. Humanity built defenses around the Kepler systems. The Concorde sent demands that were ignored. Messages went back and forth. But nothing changed. Captain Samuel Price was in charge of the defense station above the planet. Kepler 442b. He was 31 years old. With tired eyes and a face that always looked like he needed more sleep, he had joy. Ned the Navy to explore the universe. Instead, he spent his days watching screens and waiting for something to happen. His second in command was Commander Rachel Torres. She was smart and practical and did not believe in wasting time. She brought him coffee on the 314th day of the waiting. "Anything new?" she asked. "Nothing. Same as yesterday. Same as the day before that." Otto Archel sat down across from him. "The crew is getting restless. They signed up to see new worlds, not to sit in a metal box waiting for a war that might not happen." "It will happen," Sam said. "The Concorde cannot let this go. They have to respond. If they do not, every other species will start asking questions about why they should listen to the Concorde either. And when war comes?" Sam looked out the window at the blue and green world below. Kepler 442b was humanity's first successful colony outside the solar system. 300,000 people lived down there. They had farms and cities and children playing in streets. They had no idea that their lives depended on 43 ships and a handful of defense stations. "Then we fight," he said. "And we hope that the people in charge know what they are doing." On Convocation Prime, the Council argued for months. The hardliners wanted to attack immediately. The moderates wanted to wait and negotiate. And the species who had once been conquered by the Concorde, the ones who still remembered what war felt like, stayed silent and watched. It was Premier Elithax who finally suggested a solution. "We will not attack humanity directly," the Sorny said. "That would be uncivilized. Instead, we will show them our power. We will send our fleet to their systems. They will see how many ships we have, and they will understand that fighting is hopeless. Then they will surrender." The plan seemed perfect. The Concorde would demonstrate its strength without actually fighting. The humans would be scared into submission. Everyone would win. The Council voted yes. They did not understand humanity at all. While the Concorde was busy planning their show of force, humanity was busy preparing for real war. Factories on Earth and Mars and Luna worked day and night. Shipyards that had been building exploration vessels now built warships. Weapons that had been theoretical became real. Admiral Lisa Grant oversaw it all. She slept for hours a night and spent the rest of her time making sure that when the Concorde came, humanity would be ready. General Kevin Morris was in charge of the ground forces. He was a large man with a bald head and hands that looked like they could crush rocks. He met with Lisa every week to discuss progress. "The army is ready," he told her. "Every colony has a defense force. Every city has a bunker. If they try to land troops, they will pay for every meter of ground." "They will not land troops," Lisa said. "They have forgotten how to do that. They will try to scare us with their fleet. When that does not work, they will try to destroy us from orbit. And then we show them what humans can do." On Kepler 442b, life continued almost normally. People went to work. Children went to school. But everyone knew that something was coming. The news talked about the standoff every day. Parents looked at the sky and wondered if this would be the day. Captain Price ran drills with his crews. They practiced battle formations again and again until they could do them in their sleep. They tested their weapons and their shields and their engines. They prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. Commander Torres joined him on the observation deck one evening. The stars were bright and cold. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Sam thought about the question for a long time. "I think we can make them regret coming here," he said finally. "Whether that is the same as winning, I do not know. It is not very comforting. It was not meant to be. War is not comfortable. It is ugly and painful and terrible, but sometimes it is necessary. Rachel looked at the stars. My grandmother told me stories, she said, about the old wars on Earth, about how people would fight against impossible odds because giving up was worse than dying. Your grandmother was wise. She was stubborn. She used to say that the universe respects stubbornness more than intelligence. Sam smiled for the first time in weeks. Then humanity should do very well. We might not be the smartest species in the galaxy, but we are definitely the most stubborn, the waiting continued. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The tension built like water behind a dam, pressing harder and harder until something had to break. And then, on a day that had seemed like every other day, the sensors lit up. The Concorde fleet had arrived. Captain Price looked at the display, showing 1,742 enemy ships. His face was calm, but his heart was pounding. Send word to Admiral Grant, he said. Tell her they are here. Commander Torres nodded. What do we do now? Sam looked at the massive fleet filling his screens. 1,700 ships against humanity's 43. The numbers were not good, but numbers were not everything. Now we fight, he said, and we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. The silence was over. The war had begun. The Concorde fleet arrived at Kepler 4 for to be on a quiet Tuesday morning, 1742. Ships came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were beautiful in a way that human ships were not. Their hulls curved gracefully like works of art. Their surfaces shimmered with colors that had no names in human language. They had been built to impress. To demonstrate the power and glory of the Galactic Concorde, they had not been built to fight. Admiral Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Defiance. It was humanity's first true warship, built from the ground up for one purpose only: destruction. It was ugly and blocky and covered with weapons. There was nothing beautiful about it, and Lisa loved it for that. Enemy fleet in range in 30 seconds, her tactical officer reported. Open a communication channel. The view screen flickered, and High Premier Yothax appeared. The insect-like creature looked calm and confident. Admiral Grant, Yothax said. We meet again. High Premier, I see you brought friends. We have come to give humanity one final chance to return to the Concorde. Leave the Kepler systems. Accept our judgment. Do this, and we will forget that this ever happened. Lisa looked at the fleet on her tactical display. 1,700 ships against her 43. The math was not good, but math was not everything. I have a different idea, Lisa said. Leave our space. Recognize that we own these systems. Do this, and we will not destroy your fleet. Yothax made the clicking sound that meant laughter. You threaten us? With 43 ships against 1,700? I am not threatening. I am telling you what will happen. Your pride is impressive, even for a human. Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. It is not pride if you can deliver on your promises. The communication ended. The Concorde fleet began moving forward. They kept their perfect formation, confident that their numbers would frighten the humans into running away. They had done this many times before with other species. It always worked. All ships, Lisa spoke into the fleet-wide channel. Execute Battle Plan Omega. The human fleet scattered, not in retreat, but in a pattern that the Concorde admirals did not recognize. The human vessels were smaller and faster. They slipped between the gaps in the Concorde formation, like water flowing through cracks in a wall, and then they opened fire. The Concorde had shields. They had armor. They had 4,000 years of technological development. None of it mattered. Human weapons were not elegant or beautiful. They were designed for one thing only: killing. Kinetic impactors traveling at incredible speeds punched through shields like they were not there. Missiles with warheads that could crack small moons found their targets with perfect accuracy. Laser batteries burned through armor in seconds. The first Concorde ship died without making a sound. Its hull broke apart, and its crew vanished into the cold darkness of space. The second ship died moments later. Then the third. Then 10 more. Then 50. The beautiful formation fell apart into chaos. On the Defiance, Lisa watched the battle unfold on her displays. There was no joy in her eyes, only grim determination. Enemy vessels are trying to retreat, her tactical officer reported. Let them go. Admiral, let them run. We have made our point. Captain Sam Price was in the middle of the fighting aboard the defense station. Alarms screamed as the station shook from near misses. His crews worked their weapons with desperate focus. Target the engines of that cruiser, he ordered. Disable. Do not destroy, sir. They are shooting at us. And we are better shots. Disable the engines. Give them a chance to surrender. Some ships surrendered. Most did not know how. The Concorde had not practiced surrendering in 4,000 years. They had forgotten what it looked like when you were losing. Commander Torres worked alongside Sam, coordinating the defense of the planet below. 300,000 civilians depended on them. Ground-based missiles are tracking enemy vessels trying to approach the atmosphere, she reported. Nothing is getting through. Good. Keep it that way. The battle lasted 2 hours. When it was over, the stars were filled with debris. Of the 1,742 Concorde vessels that arrived at Kepler for 4b, only 412 survived to escape into faster-than-light travel. The rest drifted as shattered wrecks, monuments to the price of arrogance. Humanity had lost 7 ships, 142 people dead. Lisa would remember every single one of their names for the rest of her life. On Convocation Prime, the news of the defeat arrived like a physical blow. The council chambers erupted into panic. No one could believe what had happened. No one could accept that their mighty fleet had been destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. High Premier. Yothax was silent for the first time anyone could remember. The clicking sounds had stopped completely. Premier Elithax floated in the tank, lights pulsing with fear and confusion. How is this possible? They are one species, young, primitive. How could they do this? No one had an answer. Across the galaxy, other species watched and wondered. If humanity could beat the Concorde so completely, what did that mean for everyone else? What did that mean for the thousands of years of submission and obedience? On Kepler 4b, the celebration was quiet and tired. Captain Price stood at his window and looked at the debris field still visible in the night sky. Behind him, Commander Torres poured 2 glasses of something strong. We won, she said, handing him a glass. We survived the first battle, Sam corrected. That is not the same as winning. It feels like winning to me. It will not feel that way for long. They will come back. More ships. More weapons. They cannot let this stand. Rachel sipped her drink and looked at the stars with him. Then we will beat them again. And again after that? As many times as we have to. Sam turned to look at her. She was young, barely 30, but her eyes held a determination that made her seem older. You really believe we can win this? He asked. I believe we do not have a choice. Winning is the only option. Losing means the end of everything we are, everything we have built, everything we could become. She raised her glass. So we win. Simple as that. Sam smiled and raised his own glass. Simple as that, he repeated. On the Defiance, Admiral Grant received reports from all across the system. The enemy was gone. The colonies were safe. For now, Admiral, her communications officer said. We are receiving messages from across the Concorde. They are ... confused. Scared. Some of them are asking for direct talks with humanity. Ignore them for now. We need to focus on rebuilding and preparing. The Concorde will come back, and next time they will not underestimate us. What do we do then? Lisa looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Concorde was licking its wounds and planning revenge. They would come with more ships and bigger weapons and a burning need to prove that they were still the masters of the galaxy, and humanity would be waiting. We do what we have always done, Lisa said. We fight. We survive. And we refuse to give up, no matter what. The Battle of Kepler 4b was over. But the war was just beginning. The galaxy had learned its first hard lesson about humanity. They fought without beauty or elegance. They fought without mercy for the proud or patience for the slow. They fought to win, and they fought until winning was the only option left. Many more lessons were coming. The Concorde had 12,000 years of history and 700 species worth of resources. They would not accept defeat easily, but humanity had something they did not. Humanity had the desperation of a species that knew it was fighting for its very existence. And desperation, throughout history, had always been the most dangerous weapon of all. The stars burned cold and silent, witnesses to the first great defeat of the Galactic Concorde. And somewhere in the darkness, humanity prepared for what came next. The Battle of Kepler-4 for 2b changed everything. Species that had lived under Concorde rule for thousands of years began to whisper questions they had never dared ask before. If humanity could destroy a Concorde fleet, what did that mean for the order that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years? What did that mean for them? On Convocation Prime, the council met in emergency session. The mood was no longer confident. The beautiful chambers felt smaller somehow, the high platforms less impressive. "We must talk to them," Premier Elithax said. "The humans have proven what they can do. Fighting more will only make us weaker. Talk." "Hi," Premier Yothax clicked with anger. "They killed our ships. They made us look like fools in front of the entire galaxy. We cannot negotiate from weakness. We cannot negotiate from stupidity either," said Premier Vorthan of the Kelith. The Kelith looked like armored centipedes, and they were known for their brutal honesty. "The humans fight like nothing we have ever seen. They do not follow our rules. They do not care about our traditions. They simply destroy. Then we must destroy them first." The council voted. The hardliners won by a small margin. The second Concorde fleet took 6 months to build. Every species contributed ships. Every world sent resources. This would be the largest military force the Concorde had assembled in 4,000 years. 4,000 vessels, each one armed with the most advanced weapons the Concorde could produce. Each one crewed by soldiers who had watched recordings of the first battle and learned from the mistakes. This time would be no show of force, no demands, no talking. The fleet would enter human space, destroy every human ship it found, and occupy every human world. The species would be conquered. As others had been conquered before, Admiral Lisa Grant received word of the incoming fleet 3 days before it arrived. Not at Kepler-4 to be this time, but at Earth itself. The Concorde was going straight for the heart. Captain Sam Price had been promoted after the first battle. He served on the Defiance now, as Lisa's second-in-command. He stood beside her on the bridge as they reviewed the intelligence. 4,000 ships against our 43, he said. "Those odds are even worse than before," as Lisa agreed. "They are. Do we have a plan?" Lisa looked at the tactical display. 4,000 ships. The combined military power of 700 species. Everything the Concorde had left. "We have a plan," she said. "But you are not going to like it." The plan was simple. It was desperate. And it was completely human. President Maria Santos had approved it 6 months ago, the day after the first battle. She had looked at Lisa across her desk and asked one question. "Can we win?" "We can survive," Lisa had answered. "If we are willing to do whatever it takes." "What does whatever it takes mean?" Lisa had told her. The president had been silent for a long time. "Do it," she had finally said. "Build what you need. Do what you must. Just give our people a chance." So while the Concorde was building their 4,000 ships, humanity was building too. Every factory, every shipyard, every spare resource, all of it went into one goal. When the Concorde fleet arrived in the Sol system, they found Earth defended by 43 warships. The same number as before? The Concorde admirals smiled their alien smiles. The humans had not learned. This would be easy. Then the 43 ships scattered, just like at Kepler-4 to b, and behind them. Rising from Earth and Luna and Mars and the orbital stations and the asteroid bases and everywhere else humanity had hidden them, came the rest of the fleet. Not 43 ships, not 400 ships, 4,000. 317 warships. The Concorde fleet stopped. For a long moment, Nothing moved. Then the communications channels exploded with confused chatter. Admiral Grant opened a broadcast to the enemy fleet. "You think you understand war?" she said. "You do not. War is not about numbers or technology. War is about will. War is about how much you are willing to sacrifice. And humanity has spent its entire existence at war. We know what it costs. We know what it demands. And we are willing to pay that price." High Premier Yothax appeared on her screen. The creature looked shaken for the first time. "This is impossible," Yothax said. "You cannot have built so many ships in 6 months. We did not build them in 6 months. We've been building them since before we made first contact. We never stopped. Because we knew, from the very beginning, that the galaxy would try to destroy us, and we refused to let that happen. You joined the Concord. You followed our rules. You came to our summits?" Lisa smiled. "We played along because it was useful. We learned about you. We studied your technology. We found your weaknesses. And we prepared. You see us as young and foolish, but we have been preparing for war since the moment we realized we were not alone in the universe." The Concord fleet began to back away. "Too late, all ships," Lisa commanded. "Attack." The battle was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Human ships swarmed the Concord fleet like angry insects. They came from every direction at once. The Concord vessels tried to maintain formation, but formations meant nothing against an enemy that fought in 3 dimensions with perfect coordination. Commander Rachel Torres commanded a squadron of fast attack ships. She had been promoted after Kepler-44 to be given her own command. Now she led 30 vessels and strikes against Concord cruisers. "Target their engines," she ordered. "Let them drift." "We want prisoners, Commander. They are still shooting at us." "Then dodge. We are faster than them. Use it." General Kevin Morris commanded the defense of Earth itself. Ground-based weapons covered every approach. Orbital stations created walls of fire that nothing could pass through. The enemy tried 3 times to break through to the planet. 3 times they failed. Captain Price remained on the Defiance with Admiral Grant. He managed the tactical display, coordinating the movements of thousands of ships. "Enemy flagship is trying to retreat," he reported. "Let it go," Lisa said. "They need someone to carry the message home." "What message?" Lisa turned to look at him. Her eyes were tired but clear. "The message that humanity is not to be challenged. Not today. Not ever." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Concord fleet no longer existed. 2,000 ships destroyed. Another 1,500 captured. Only 500 managed to escape into faster-than-light travel. Humanity lost 300 ships. 18,000 people dead. Lisa knew that she would carry their names forever, adding to the weight she already bore. But Earth was safe. Luna was safe. Mars was safe. Every human colony in the galaxy remained free. President Santos addressed the survivors on every human world. "Today, we proved something," she said. "We proved that humanity will not kneel. We proved that we will pay any price for our freedom. We proved that the galaxy made a terrible mistake when it tried to treat us as subjects." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "We are not conquerors. We do not want empire. We want only what we have always wanted: the right to exist, the right to grow, the right to determine our own future. If the Concord accepts these things, there can be peace. If they do not," she did not need to finish the sentence. On the Defiance, Lisa sat alone in her quarters. The celebration happening throughout the fleet felt far away. She had won. Humanity had survived. But at what cost? Sam Price found her there an hour later. He brought coffee. "Because that was what you did in the Navy when words were not enough. You should be celebrating," he said. "I am not sure I know how anymore." Sam sat down across from her. 18,000 people. Lisa continued. "That is what victory cost us today. 18,000 families destroyed. 18,000 futures that will never happen. And 300,000 would have died if we lost. 3 million. 30 million. All of humanity eventually. I know the math." "Then why do you look like you lost?" Lisa looked at him for a long moment. Because winning should not feel like this, she said. Because I am tired of counting bodies. Because I am tired of sending young people to die for decisions made by fools and bureaucrats. Sam was quiet for a while. My grandmother used to say something, he finally said. She used to say that the burden of command is not making the hard choices. It is living with them afterward. Lisa almost smiled. Your grandmother was wise. She was stubborn, just like the rest of us. Outside the window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the survivors of the Concorde fleet were limping home with news of the greatest defeat in galactic history. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity, for better or worse, was now a power that could not be ignored. The surrender came 3 days after the battle. Hi. Premier Yodax appeared on every screen in the galaxy. The creature that had once looked down on humanity from a high platform now looked broken and small. The confident clicks were gone. Only silence remained between the words. The Galactic Concorde offers complete surrender to the Human Confederation, Yothex said. Every word seemed to cause physical pain. We recognize human control over all systems you have claimed. We recognize human authority as equal to any member of the Concorde. We ask only for mercy. The message played on repeat across 700 worlds. Species that had lived under Concorde rule for thousands of years watched in stunned silence. The masters of the galaxy had been brought low by a species they had called primitive and young. President Maria Santos responded from Earth. She stood in front of the United Nations building, where flags of every human nation flew beside the new flag of the Human Confederation. Humanity does not seek revenge, she said. We seek only what we have always sought. Respect, equality, the right to choose our own path. The Concorde can continue to exist, but it will no longer exist as it was. There will be no more species that rule over others. There will be no more races treated as lesser. There will be partnership, or there will be nothing. The treaty was signed on Convocation Prime, in the same chamber where Admiral Lisa Grant had walked away from the peace talks almost 2 years earlier. The platforms had been lowered so that everyone sat at the same height. This was not an accident. Lisa stood at the back of the room as Ambassador Daniel Perry signed the documents. He had changed since those early days. The young man who had believed in good faith had been replaced by someone harder, someone who understood that peace sometimes required the threat of war. Admiral Grant, a voice said beside her. I did not expect to see you here. Lisa turned to find Premier Elithax floating in a portable tank. The Sereni's lights pulsed with something that might have been respect. I wanted to see it finished, Lisa said. And is it finished? Lisa looked at the chamber full of aliens who had tried to destroy her species. Some of them still hated humanity. Some of them were afraid. A few, like Elithax, seemed to understand that something new was being born. This part is finished, she said. What comes next will be harder. You mean rebuilding? Cooperation? Learning to live together? I mean trust. We have won battles. We have signed treaties. But trust takes generations to build. The Concorde ruled through fear for 12,000 years. That does not disappear overnight. Elithax pulsed thoughtfully. You are wise. For a human, Lisa smiled at the echo of Yothex's words from long ago. I have made enough mistakes to learn a few things. Lisa found a quiet viewing port and watched the stars. Convocation Prime orbited a dying red giant, and the light painted everything in shades of orange and red dot. Daniel Perry found her there. He looked older than he had 2 years ago. They all did. You could have destroyed them, he said. Completely. Totally. They expected you to. I know.
Did you not?
Lisa had asked herself that question many times during the long journey here. The answer was complicated, but also simple. Because we are not them, she said. We do not conquer. We do not rule over others. We defend what is ours, and we leave the rest alone. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us worth saving. Some people would call that weakness. Some people would be wrong. Mercy is not weakness. Restraint is not cowardice. It takes more strength to stop fighting than it does to keep fighting. Any fool can destroy. Building something that lasts, that requires wisdom. Daniel nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. Captain Sam Price had been promoted to Commodore after the battle. He commanded a squadron now, patrolling the borders of human space. But today he was on leave. Walking through the streets of New Chicago on Kepler 4 for 2B, the city had grown since the war began. 300,000 people had become nearly 1 million, as refugees from Earth and other worlds sought safety in the colonies. The streets were busy with construction and commerce and the ordinary chaos of life. Commander Rachel Torres walked beside him. She had been promoted too, given her own ship to command. They had both changed since those early days on the defense station, but some things remained the same. "It feels strange," Rachel said. "Peace, I mean. After so long expecting the worst, it is not peace yet. Not really. Treaties are paper. Peace is something you build over time." Wise words. "Did your grandmother say that too?" Sam laughed. "No, that one I came up with myself." They stopped at a small park where children were playing. Human children and, surprisingly, a few young Sereni floating in portable tanks. The sight would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. "Do you think it will last?" Rachel asked. "The peace, I mean." Sam watched the children for a long moment. "I think it will if we work at it," he said finally. "The galaxy is full of species that were conquered by the Concorde thousands of years ago. They have been watching us, seeing what we do. If we treat the Concorde fairly, those species might start believing that a better way is possible. And if we do not, then we become what we fought against. Another empire, another master demanding obedience, and eventually, someone else will rise up and destroy us, just like we rose up and destroyed the Concorde." Rachel was quiet for a while. "I did not join the Navy to build empires," she said. "Neither did I. I joined to explore, to see new worlds and meet new species and discover things no one had ever seen before. Maybe now we can." Sam smiled. "Maybe we can. On Earth." President Santos addressed the Congress of the new Human Confederation. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. "We have won a victory that no one thought possible," she said. "We have proven that humanity cannot be dismissed or ignored or conquered. But victory is not the same as success. Now we must prove something else. We must prove that we can be good neighbors, good partners, good citizens of a galaxy that is watching our every move." She looked at the representatives gathered before her. "We have a choice. We can take the path of the Concorde and rule through fear. We can build an empire that lasts for thousands of years but is hated by everyone it touches. Or we can take a different path. We can build something new. A galaxy where strength does not mean domination, where power does not mean oppression, where species work together because they choose to, not because they are forced to." She paused. "I know which path I choose. I hope you will choose the same." The vote was unanimous. Admiral Lisa Grant retired 6 months after the treaty was signed. She was 55 years old, and she was tired in ways that sleep could not fix. She bought a small house on the coast of California and spent her days watching the ocean and reading books she had never had time for before. Sometimes Daniel Perry visited, sometimes Maria Santos, sometimes Captain Price and Commander Torres when their ships were in the system. They would sit on her porch and drink coffee and talk about the future they had built together. "Any regrets?" Daniel asked her once Lisa thought about the question. She thought about the 18,000 people who had died in the final battle, the 700 who had died at Kepler 4, 4B, all the lives lost across 2 years of war. "Every day," she said, "I regret every life we could not save, every battle we could not avoid, every compromise we had to make. But the outcome?" Lisa looked at the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and orange. "The outcome was the only one possible," she said. "We did not choose this war. We did not want it. But when it came, we faced it together. We refused to give up. We refused to kneel. And in the end, We built something worth building. The sun sank below the horizon, and the stars came out one by one. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing. Species that had lived in fear for millennia were discovering freedom. New alliances were forming, new possibilities were opening, and humanity, young and stubborn and full of contradictions, was finally taking its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as equals. The galaxy had underestimated them. The galaxy had tried to break them. The galaxy regretted everything. But humanity was just getting started.